It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the University of Texas Arlington assistant volleyball coach, Coach Carlisa May. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college?
Yes. So when I was an athlete, actually my freshman year of college, I played at Arkansas State. And so my freshman year, I was like, ooh, like it would be so fun to be a college coach. And that's actually, I guess, how my interest peaked in it. And then really around my junior, senior year, I was like, okay, there's a lot that goes into this. Like, I don't think I'm up for this. And so at first I was like, okay, no, I don't want to do this. And then after my career was over, I had signed a contract to play professionally in Greece and then ended up getting hurt. And so kind of in the gap year, like pre-COVID era, I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was coaching at a high school at the time. And I really decided, I was like, okay, I missed the college game. Like I miss just the fast pace, the intensity of it, just how, I guess, super competitive it is. And so that was something that I really craved and desired. And so I ended up contacting my old coach and asking him if he knew anyone who needed a graduate assistant. And he was at the University of Houston. And so he actually coached me at Arkansas State before he went to the University of Houston. And so it just worked out to where I was able to get back into the college side of the game, being a graduate assistant at the University of Houston. And then now here I am after that. So I guess a 5 to 7 year journey, you could say, of just figuring it out and that kind of thing. So it's been fun.
Of course, what was that like going to Arkansas State to play volleyball?
It was great. I loved it. I'm a super competitive person in general. I think my college experience was a little bit different, you could say, in the sense of, the accolades that I did receive as a player. And so that was something that I never really talked about, but I've always taken a lot of pride in that because I've wanted to be the best for so long. And so I really modeled a lot of my game after Destiny Hooker, who was my favorite athlete, my favorite volleyball player. And so I just wanted to be just like her. And so a lot of how I played, how I approached the game, how I approached practice, just how I approached competition in general was really modeled after her. And so I think that showed in, I guess, the awards and the accolades that I received, but it was really fun. I had a great college experience, broke some school records. I was an All-American. So, I say it was pretty good. But I was very humbled to just do things that a lot of inexperienced things that a lot of people didn't get to, don't get to really as college athletes. I got to go play overseas with my team. We got to go on a foreign tour. I got to go to Barcelona, Spain for a class. So just a lot of things that I guess you could say a lot of student athletes don't get to experience. I actually got to at Arkansas State. So that was really a great part of just my career as a college athlete and student athlete, really.
Of course, what was that like getting to put on that Arkansas State volleyball jersey?
It was great. I had always I was an undersized outside hitter. And so I think for me, I always wanted to prove people wrong about shorter hitters. Me being 5'8", you don't really see a lot of that at the Division I level. And so I really made it a point to be the best. Really, I wanted to surround myself, push my teammates pushed me, my coaches pushed me. And so every time that I got to put the jersey on, I took that as an opportunity to not only represent the school, but to represent myself in the belief that I had in, I guess, what I could do. and just the confidence that I wanted to display in being an athlete. So yeah, it was fun. I loved it. It was probably the best 4 years, really, of my life, aside from now. But I loved it. I took a lot of pride in it. It was fun.
Of course, while at Arkansas State, you said you broke records. Do you still hold those records to this day?
I do. I do hold those records. It's fun because so my team, my freshman year, we actually got to go to the NCAA tournament for the first time in like 24 years. So that was a really big accomplishment, something that hadn't been done. And so even just doing that with my team, we won conference 2015, 2016. So it was great. And then by my senior year, holding the all-time career kills leader record. And yeah, so freshman of the year, 3-time offensive player of the year. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. And I couldn't do any of it without my teammates and my coaches. But it's funny because I actually never talk out loud about, I guess, what I have accomplished. So that's pretty cool just to know that that's intact. And I left a little piece of history there at the school. So it's really cool.
Of course, how does it feel now that knowing that you still have that record and that record could be broken any day?
I think it's awesome. I think there's a player there now who's pretty close. So, I wish whoever comes after me the best. And I'm just excited to see how the program keeps evolving and the players that they bring in and what they accomplish. So it's fun. I know it'll get broken one day. So I'm not hoping forever that it'll stay, but I'm excited to see, I guess, the future talent in my alma mater. So.
Of course, how is it like being a head coach for the Arkansas Juniors?
Yeah, so when I coached, that's actually how I got into coaching, was coaching a club team in Arkansas, I guess my sophomore year. And so I was head coaching 12 and 13-year-olds. So that was a challenge. It was fun though. I think you approach the game in a different manner when you coach younger kids rather than the college level, just because it's a lot more detail oriented and, teaching the skills and things like that. So the game's a lot more broken down at that level. So I think that's fun. But even just seeing like the transition into the college game is also fun, skill wise, all that kind of thing. So.
Of course, what was it like going to Houston Cougars and becoming the grad assistant?
That was amazing. I don't think a lot of players get the opportunity to work for their former coaches. And from my experience with Dave, who is the head coach there now, as a player, and then seeing him on the coaching side, it's been amazing. Like, I'm learning from, to me, one of the best coaches in the game. And just being able to see him in a different light, and it's like, I think when you're a player, sometimes you think, my coaches, like, why are they getting on me with this and this and this, but then when you're on the coaching side, it's like, oh my gosh, that makes a lot of sense now, learning from him, scouting, learning how to scout teams, learning how to just run the offense, learning just different ways to connect with different players and how personalities click, and I guess the different coaching approaches that you can come with to the game is something that I don't take for granted, learning from him and being a part of that program for 2 years. So it was amazing to see, I guess, the progress that they've made from then to now as well. So it's been awesome. It was an awesome experience.
Of course, how is it like when you got promoted from being the grad assistant to an interim assistant for Houston?
Yes. So I will say I was not expecting it, and the circumstances, were a little different. And I made sure that I approached it in a way that I was always asking questions. I think a lot of times we can be very critical of ourselves. And so I tried to give myself a little bit of grace in the fact that, okay, like, this is the first time I'm able to coach at the college level. And so just asking a lot of questions to Dave, to Caitlin, Brian, the other former assistant. And so just asking for a lot of help when I needed it. And I guess just being confident in the fact that I did know what I was talking about. So I think sometimes when you get elevated in a role, you can second guess your decisions. And I was very fortunate to have a great staff and a great group of people around me who were encouraging and supportive and just, I guess, helping me just build that confidence in myself for, I guess, the position that I'm in now. So that was great.
What was that transition like from going from Houston to UT Arlington to become the assistant coach?
Yes, the transition was awesome. It was an amazing transition. Honestly, I think the job search process is hard when you're trying to look for your first assistant job in any sport, really. And a lot of networking was made and a lot of conversations, hard conversations, a lot of tears, of just, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I doing this right? Am I talking to the right people? Am I getting the right advice and all those things? And I think at the end of the day, I really first trusted God. And then I also just trusted, my ability to make the decision of not only what was the best fit for me, but what was the best fit for a program that I could see myself coaching at. And I think UTA is really the best place. And I'm very fortunate to be here. I work for a great boss. I work for a great coach. And I'm learning so much from him and just learning just how to love the game more in a different light. So this is actually the first school that I'm at where I did not know anybody prior to coming. And so that was fun. Just learning, building connections and getting to know everybody in the athletic department. Like, it's really been an amazing transition and an amazing season so far.
Of course, how was that like staying in the state of Texas and getting to coach at a different school in Texas versus going, let's say, to North Carolina or at a state school?
Yeah, so originally I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. And so going to school in Arkansas and then going back home and then going in Texas and going to grad school and being a GA and everything like that. So I don't know if I would say I was expecting to stay in Texas. I'm very glad that I am. I love Texas. I think it's a great state. Honestly, I love it here. I love the Dallas area. Like, this is amazing. And so I think not having to leave Texas is probably one of the best things that, I'm very, very grateful for. So that's been amazing. Yeah, Texas is great.
Of course, what are some of your accomplishments with the Arlington, Texas?
Yeah, so right now, this is actually our first season in the WAC conference. We just transitioned over from the Sun Belt Conference. And so it's been fun to see, I guess, how we match up to a lot of the teams in the WAC compared to the Sun Belt, which is actually where Arkansas State was. So it's been really fun to see, playing some West Coast teams, playing a lot of Texas teams, and just how the game is not so different but similar, but there's also just different approaches to the game. And I think that's been fun. We went on a 9-game winning streak, and so that's been the longest winning streak since, I think, what they say, like 1997 or something like that. So that was cool. So broke a record in that. We had back-to-back freshman of the weeks, and Sophie Skinner and Jaylee Tritt, and then we had 4 players this year reach 100 career blocks. So, it's been really fun to just see how the girls love the game, but to also just see how much more us as coaches, how much more we love the game, just, watching them get to play and live out their dream in that. So it's been really fun.
Of course, who are some of the teams in your conference that you play each week?
Yeah, so we are in the WAC, and so we played Grand Canyon, Utah Valley, California Baptist, Seattle University, Utah Valley University, Utah Tech. There's a lot of Texas schools, so us, UTA, UTRGV, SFA, Sam Houston State, Abilene Christian, Tarleton State. So like, there's a big chunk. Like, we are going from Texas to the West Coast, back to Texas, down to the boot, New Mexico State. So it's a very competitive conference. So it's been really fun.
Of course, what is that like, obviously getting to play those teams such as Grand Valley State, Seattle, and also getting to play some of your in-state teams in Texas?
Yeah, it's honestly amazing. I think because we were in the Sun Belt, right? I was very familiar with UTA and like Georgia State, Georgia Southern, just because I played in the conference as well. And then just from like the coaching perspective, we played the same schools. So now it's a lot of, we get to travel a little bit farther and I guess see some places that you normally don't think about getting to see. So even going to Seattle this past week, I've never been to Utah. I was like, I've never been to the West Coast. I went to Seattle when I was, when I was a freshman in college, but that was it. So now our student athletes are actually getting to experience a different side of not only the country, but just a different side of volleyball. One of our players was fortunate enough to be able to even go overseas this summer. And so she has connections to other players in our conference because they got to play together. And so it's just really cool to see not only how the game is growing and just the connections that are being built from a student athlete perspective, but also even coaching. Like I got to work with some of the coaches from other schools in, doing camps or even just being on the recruiting trail together. And so it's been fun. Like it's fun to see the connections. It's fun to just learn and talk to other coaches and I guess just pick their brains about the game and everything like that. So it's great. It really is.
Of course, as a coach, what is that like, obviously getting to talk with some of your other coaches, such as the Seattle coach from Coach Michelle Cole, and get to learn from her and what her program is all about?
Yeah, so she's really building a great program up there. I didn't get to talk to her myself, but I know that she's doing a great job. I know that this is her third year there, and so she's really building something special in the way that she recruits and everything like that. Actually, one of her players is from Kansas City, so I actually got to see her this weekend. We're family friends and everything like that. So it's really cool to I guess just see like the transition of how the game is. I know that they have some international players and just like seeing how other teams recruit in our conference and everything, and just seeing how other people do things is really cool, and seeing how we do things and just how does that match up with each other. So that's been fun.
What does a game day look like at home versus on the road?
Yeah, so our conference schedule this year is actually we play on Thursdays and Saturdays. So we play on Thursdays at 6 p.m. and then we play Saturdays between like noon and 2, depending on the day and the school or the school that we play, and kind of travel schedules and things like that. So when we're at home, usually we'll do like on a Thursday, a normal day will be like we get in the office, we do our kind of typical game run through, like our game plan and everything like that. Our girls come in around 2 o'clock to do a server pass, and then we'll go through and eat, pregame meal, and then we'll just get them prepped for the game. And then an hour before game time at 5 o'clock is when warm-ups start. And so then we're playing the game, and then on a Friday, the girls will have class. We'll come in, do our practice or walkthrough or anything like that for our Saturday opponent. And then Saturday morning, back in and getting ready for the game again. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. On the road, it's a little bit different just because, we have flights and buses and scheduling meals and all those kind of things. But at home, it's pretty short, not as extensive of a day, I would say.
Of course, what is that like, obviously having where most of the teams that you're playing on the road, you have to take flights and stuff versus obviously taking like a bus ride?
Yeah, it's a little bit challenging, honestly. I think the WAC travel schedule is really fun, but it is taxing a little bit. Just trying to get to and from and, figure all of those kind of things out in a timely manner, I would say, because sometimes flights get delayed or get canceled or whatever the case may be, but we try to book those things very, very far in advance so that we don't run into those situations if and when they do arise. And luckily we haven't had any trouble in that sense, but flying anywhere is pretty taxing, as with time changes and time zone changes. When we went to Seattle, we're 2 hours behind from Texas time. So just trying to adjust and make sure that we're getting the girls enough rest and water and food is our number one priority, really, and just making sure that they're sleeping and, when they have the chance that they get their study hall in and are able to do their schoolwork at the same time. So we really try to schedule it to where it's not just we're, on a bus or on a plane, but we are actually allowing them time to do their studies and everything like that, and have kind of a little bit of rest in between. So that's what that is.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you started to help build for the Arlington team?
Yeah, I think it's funny. So I'm very big with like words. Yeah, I talk a lot. But something that I have always done as a player is I'll have a word or a phrase or a slogan, as you will. And so I asked the team this year, said, hey, like, what do you guys want your team slogan to be, right? Like, that's something I think y'all should come up with as a team. Y'all let me know. And so they came up with the slogan, "We stay hungry." And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And so now it's the process of like, okay, we have this slogan. Now we can be all talk, but now you got to bring the action with it. And so I think the culture that we're creating is just to compete, really. I think when you give 100% and you compete, I don't think first people can take that from you, right? If you're giving 100% every single time, every single ball, every day you walk into practice, and you try to be the best you that you can be. And so that's really the culture I think that we're creating here, is just to compete, right? So, we've switched sides and people have rotated in and subbed in for each other. And we really just talk about just earn your spot. And I think that's been a big thing this year is we have so much depth that it is fun in the gym. And I think it's fun. And I think that's something that we really try to like build is not just it's this, but we really want you to enjoy what you're doing. We want you to love the game, right? And want to know the game more and learn how to process the game. And so we have a lot of us watching film on their own as well. So we'll give them a scouting report, but we also say, hey, like y'all go, we'll give you a blank sheet and you fill out the hitters or, what are their tendencies and things like that, because we think that not only helps our team, but that helps them understand different situations in the game or something like that. And so that's kind of how we're approaching it. I think that's the culture is very independently driven, but it's also competitive because we all have a goal that we want to achieve, and that's to make it to the tournament. So yeah, we're competing every day. Every day we come in, we're trying to be the best.
Of course, what does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes coming to college for volleyball?
Yeah, so PSAs, prospective student athletes, usually our recruiting season is in the spring. And so we'll usually recruit from around February, like the end of February, probably until end of July, beginning of August, which NCAA has a lot of rules and dead periods and things like that. So a big chunk of our recruiting period is in the spring. We usually have different tournaments that we go to, and we got this app on our phone, and you will see, like, if you ever go to a tournament, it's like all the coaches got their phone out and it's just like da, 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 da. And so that's how we kind of do that. And we have like lists of kids that we go through, and our recruiting coordinator will actually kind of be in charge of, hey, like this kid is our number one, or this is somebody that we really need to talk to. And we're very collaborative on, I guess, the kids that we feel like would be a fit for our program. And then from there, we're really just trying to build relationships and just tell them more about UTA and what we have to offer from academics and athletics standpoint. And it's really just building the relationships and letting the prospective student athletes make the decision for themselves, if the offer does come. And so a lot of the recruiting for sports in general is all about relationships. And I feel like when you build relationships that are solid in that process, then usually you get, the kids that you want, and then they also feel like we're a good fit for them as well, I guess, in what their dream is. And that's a big part of the recruiting for us, if that answers your question.
Of course, as a coach, what is that like going to those big tournaments and seeing those prospective student athletes? And what do you look at in them while you're going to the tournaments?
Yeah, so first, it's a little overwhelming. I think this was my first year recruiting. So I got to see everything that I didn't know about when I was a player and then when I was a graduate assistant. So it's pretty overwhelming. If you go to a big qualifier, there's probably like 100+ courts, and a lot of kids. There's a lot of kids, and it's a little overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. So just really figuring out how to narrow that list down. And I think when you feel like there's a kid who maybe does a skill, or an athlete who does a skill that is solid, or something that you really gravitate towards, right? So something that, for example, maybe we would be interested in a middle hitter who moves really well laterally. That's something that we look for. Are you fast as an outside hitter, as a setter? Like, do you know how to read the block? So just like small things like that. I think when you see an athlete kind of in the game, it's a little bit easier to explain rather than like off the court. But sometimes when you know. I think that's the easiest way to put it is, I think when you see somebody who matches up to the vision that you have in your head, that's the type of person that you want, and the type of student athlete that you want to recruit to your school.
Of course, what is that like bringing them to the school and doing the official visit?
Yeah, so a big part of our recruiting before is usually unofficial visits. And so unofficial is where we actually are not able to pay for the expenses that they have. So if we go out to lunch with them and things like that, we're not actually paying for that. Official visits are usually for the kids that you are really, really interested in, or student athletes who are probably already committed to you in that process. And so a big part of that is really just giving them the opportunity to maybe come to a game, or allow them to see different activities or other sports teams' games on campus in a set kind of amount of time that NCAA allows us to have. And so it's kind of just giving them the full picture in a matter of maybe a day or two.
Of course, as an assistant coach, what is that like seeing them get to put on that jersey for the first time on the official visit, fall in love with the school, and then commit?
It's great. I will say when there's an athlete that you are very interested in and they believe in, I guess, your program and what you're building and what you have going on, and they want to commit that day, that's awesome. That's an awesome feeling. That is an amazing feeling. And I'm like, we want that every time. And I know it's not going to happen every time, but it is a great feeling to know that people believe in what you're putting out, and then what you're building as a program. So, yeah.
How is it like, obviously, as an assistant coach, seeing them put on that jersey once they commit in that first game day?
Yes. So it's super exciting. Like, our freshman class now has been so amazing. And so just seeing them, from when they were in their little club teams to now, it's like the college, they're in the college game. Like, it's great. It's fun seeing the growth, seeing them kind of like grow into these, like young adults who are like navigating and figuring out their life, while doing their sport. So it's really cool to see the transition. I don't think I knew like what my coaches saw when I was a player, but now that I'm a coach, I'm like, okay, like, this is really awesome, and I'm like, I get 4 years with you, like, this is great, so.
What advice would you give those high school athletes looking to become college volleyball players?
Yeah, I would say email, call, send out your film. Like, coaches are always looking. So even though you might not be the right fit for somebody, or for the, maybe the school that you're interested in, you are the right fit for somebody. And I think once you find that fit, it's like magic. It's like glue. It makes it stick, And so I would say be persistent, be very persistent, be consistent, but also be confident in the ability that you have. I don't think, and sometimes a lot of people think like it's D1 or nothing, and sometimes maybe it is a D2 school or NAIA school or something like that. And so to also just be open-minded about the recruiting process, and ask questions, and do not have your parents send your emails and stuff like that, but ask them for advice and feedback, and ask them to proofread and things like that, because sometimes we get emails that don't even have the right school name, and things like that. So email as many people as you can, get proofread, but also be persistent and be consistent. So yeah, that's my advice.
What advice would you give those college athletes looking to play professionally, whether it's Athletes Unlimited or Team USA?
First, I would say study the game. I think the more you can study other players, the more you can learn, and the higher your IQ is. to allow you to compete at the level that you want to. But I would also say network, go to those tryouts, go to the USA tryouts, go to as many opportunities as you can to really get your face and your name out there, because there are so many opportunities for college players to really get the opportunity to play, on the collegiate national team or things like that. So don't be scared, do it and have fun and just enjoy competing, because you really don't get these moments back when it's over. So
What advice would you give those people looking to represent the national team, such as USA, Canada, or even Mexico?
that I would say you have to be 100% committed. Okay. That means go to the USA tryout, get your face out there. If you want them to know who you are, if you aspire to play at that level, you need to be in front of the people that are at the highest level. And that to me means you need to be at the USA tryout in February when it happens. Okay.
What advice would you give future college coaches looking to get started in the industry?
Yes, I would just say network. Like, literally, relationships are the epitome of college sports, right? The epitome of any job, really. And so if somebody can vouch for you or, say or give a reference about you to somebody else, then that's really the best thing that you have going for you. Smile when you see people, say hi, wave, talk to people, don't be scary, like continue to build your resume up. Like there's so many just opportunities in the game. Get a mentor, like that's super, super important, because then there's somebody to help you through the process of like learning, what it is and what it means to be an assistant coach, and hopefully a successful one. So that's kind of the advice for that.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the University of Texas Arlington's volleyball program at?
Yes, so they can follow us at UTA Mavs BB is our Twitter and our Instagram page. So yes, give us a follow.
Thank you again, Coach Carlisa May, for your interview, and best of luck in your future at UT Arlington.
Thank you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brand, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Carlisa May, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.